Brilliance Audio presents Those Who Wander, America's Lost Street Kids, by Vivian Ho, performed by Emily Zeller. The victims' families were still crying quietly when Chief Deputy Public Defender David Brown stood to address the packed courtroom in Marin County, California. Next to him, his client, Morrison Hayes Lampley, remained seated, his unruly mop of sandy brown hair pulled back in a neat knot. Though the emotional and heartfelt statements from the victims' families had drawn tears from many in the gallery, as well as from his two co-defendants, Lampley, who goes by Hayes, kept his expressionless stare focused on the table in front of him, just as he had for the majority of the legal proceedings. David Brown had worn a similar mask over the past year and a half, one of practiced stoicism shaped from years of courtroom experience. A gangly man with an almost constantly furrowed brow, he withstood with reluctance the onslaught of television cameras and microphones shoved in his face after each court appearance, declining the podium-pounding showboating that comes naturally to attorneys presented with high-profile cases. Even within the courtroom, he played the details close to his chest, refusing to feed the ravenous reporters that he tried to bar from the proceedings as they sought to make sense of two cold-blooded killings that had horrified the Bay Area. But on the day Hayes Lampley, his teenage girlfriend, and his longtime acquaintance were to be sentenced for the murders of 23-year-old Audrey Carey and 67-year-old Steve Carter, Brown spoke to the court with the candor of an attorney who knew that his client was about to spend the rest of his life in prison. In the rushed bluntness he had become known for, Brown laid out the brutal reality of Hayes's 24 years on this earth. The neglect, the homelessness, the abuse, the mental illness. He was deprived of everything a child needs, Brown said, dosed with LSD as a toddler, shooting up drugs by the age of 11. A psychiatrist once described him as a feral child. Hayes would have fared no worse or no better if he had been dropped off on a street corner after he was born, Brown said. Then he turned to the front row of the gallery, where the victims' families sat. "This is not offered as an excuse," Brown said to them, "but as an attempt to understand why we're all here." What "here" meant differed for each person in the courtroom that day. In the simplest of terms, here was the end of an 18-month ordeal that began in October 2015, when 3 young drifters robbed and fatally shot Audrey Carey in the bushes of San Francisco's Golden Gate Park, and then went on to kill Steve Carter for his car keys on a popular hiking trail in Marin County, just over the Golden Gate Bridge. For the family members of Steve Carter, a respected Tantra instructor who had moved back to California to support his wife through chemotherapy, and Audrey Carey, a free-spirited young girl with a bright future, here was a hell created by 3 monsters. Hayes Lampley, his 19-year-old girlfriend, Lila Scott Allagood, and Sean Angold, their 25-year-old friend, for whom no amount of prison time could make up for the lives they stole. "It's not like those people just killed Steve," said Lokita Carter, Steve's widow. "They killed a huge chunk of me. They killed a whole other part of another human being.